One evening, the girl who is utterly captivated by him observes an astonishing miracle as his body abruptly diminishes in size, transforming him into a miniature human being. Approximately 6 inches in height, he gazes at himself and comprehends that he is entirely bulky, prompting him to swiftly snatch garments from a lopsided teddy bear to cover himself as thoroughly as he can. From that point onward, even the tiniest object becomes potentially lethal for him. Abruptly, an enormous man nearly steps on him. Following that, he vigorously waves his hand towards a bus with all his might. He screams desperately, but nobody is able to perceive him. He has become incredibly tiny. Suddenly, an enormous feline emerges. Its gaze is icy and predatory, remaining fixed on him. He swiftly pretends to be lifeless, hoping the cat will lose interest, but it sniffs him as if preparing to devour him. At the very last moment, he leaps onto the cat's back. The cat, startled, dashes at full speed, loses its balance at a sharp turn, and flings him into the air, directly towards a river filled with hazardous waste. Fortunately, he does not plunge into the hazardous water. Instead, he descends into a plastic cup that is floating on the surface and utilizes it like a miniature boat to rescue himself. With his final ounce of strength, he drags himself towards a nearby bridge and calls out Chimmy's name with all his heart. Chimmy suddenly experiences a distant ache in her chest and has an inexplicable feeling that Yogi is in peril. Without hesitation, she rushes outside, determined to locate him. She is unaware of his whereabouts. She is actively searching. Meanwhile, Yogi somehow manages to climb onto a young girl's electric scooter, but unfortunately, the scooter encounters a bump and throws him onto the hard floor. A car nearly crushes him, and everything seems to be getting progressively worse. Then, unexpectedly, he collides with Chili. With his remaining strength, he calls out her name, and Jimmy glances around but sees no one. Then, something urges her to look downward. When she finally looks down, she is taken aback. A miniature Yogi is staring up at her. He begins to explain that when he was on the brink of dying, suddenly he transformed into a miniature boy. Chimmy desires to take him to the medical facility, but Yoon promptly declines. Ever since his mother succumbed to cancer, hospitals have become his greatest trauma. Therefore, she retrieves her phone and searches for guidance on what to do if you have a diminutive person in your residence. As she reads, a powerful gust of wind nearly blows him away. Yoon sneezes, and Chimmy suspects he might be falling ill, so she swiftly conceals him in her bag to transport him home. Inside the bag, he becomes squished among her possessions. He bounces around and feels extremely dizzy. He even begins to feel quite nauseous. As soon as they arrive home, Chili doesn't display anything unusual in front of her family. While Yuki conceals himself in her room, she fills a cup with comfortably warm water so he can use it like a miniature bathtub and calmly informs him that he can stay as long as he doesn't disturb her or touch her belongings, reminding him that he doesn't possess clothes or a fan bed. Then, Jimmy recalls her old dollhouse. She graciously offers him a brand new home, then she proceeds. She dresses him in miniature doll clothes. When she observes him in the diminutive outfits, she bursts into laughter because he becomes upset and threatens that if she persists in making fun of him, he will seek revenge by removing all the clothes. To Chimmy, he appears even more adorable. She begins taking selfies, playfully teasing him and taunting him further, and Yuki feels utterly helpless because in that tiny stature, he cannot retaliate in any manner. Chimmy's mother unexpectedly steps into the room and observes her daughter engaged in conversation with someone. Chimmy swiftly pretends that she was in the midst of praying to prevent her mother from becoming suspicious. When her mother inquires about what she would prefer for dinner, Yuki's stomach emits a loud growl. Chimmy promptly retrieves a small bowl and meticulously cuts the noodles into diminutive pieces. From Yuki's perspective, they appear as towering mountains. He grumbles that the dollhouse is quite uncomfortable and expresses his desire to sleep beside Chimmy. Chimmy improvises a blanket using a napkin and gently places him next to the puppies. In the morning, they awaken to the sight of each other. Shortly thereafter, Yuki overhears that his father is searching for him everywhere. So he skillfully unlocks the smartphone using his feet and sends a detailed message stating that he has just embarked on a trip, ensuring that his father won't feel the need to contact the authorities. Then, Jimmy's younger brother enters the room and carelessly tosses a toy that nearly strikes Yuki. Jimmy reprimands the child so emphatically that he halts in fright. Now he begins to suspect that his sister might be concealing a secret boyfriend beneath the bed. Jimmy then firmly instructs Yuki to remain in the room and not to venture anywhere else in the house. Meanwhile, her mother hears the commotion in the room once more. In a state of panic, he swiftly conceals himself once more behind a plush, stuffed animal. The mother peers beneath the bed and inspects every nook and cranny, suspecting that perhaps a stray cat might have wandered in. Discovering nothing, she exits the room and soon returns with a vacuum cleaner in tow. She switches it on and commences cleaning the room. For Yuki, the machine transforms into an enormous monster, a tempestuous wind that threatens to sniff him out and draw him inside. He must cling tightly to a slender pole to avoid being sucked into the tube. Meanwhile, Jimmy finishes school and heads directly home. She discovers him huddled in a secluded corner, feeling quite frustrated. She offers an apology because he mentions that his mother resembled Godzilla, and now he harbors a fear of all humans. Jimmy comes to the realization that she cannot leave him unattended because even a minor accident could prove to be fatal for him. Together, they establish some fundamental survival rules. Yuki must never approach Hats, and whenever someone enters the room, he must convincingly pretend to be lifeless. Shortly thereafter, Yogi persistently pleads to take him out for a walk. She conceals it within her pocket, situated right beside her heart. Meanwhile, Yuki regards himself as the most fortunate individual in the entire world. He gently taps her chest. Jimmy halts him, labeling him a pervert, and cautions him not to touch her chest again. They proceed to their beloved bench where they used to sit together, yet Yuki finds himself unable to sit. A vulture circles overhead, and he feels as though he could become prey at any given moment. Jimmy assures him that she will safeguard him. Then unexpectedly, she ponders what a kiss between a large individual and a diminutive one might be like. Yu feels anxious but consents to give it a try. When they kiss, the sensation is quite peculiar. Her lips seem enormous and Yu's entire face becomes enveloped in her saliva. Nevertheless, he remarks that her lips are as sweet as honey and joyfully makes his way back home. However, the basketball coach begins inquiring about Yogi's whereabouts and why he is absent from practice. She reiterates the explanation that he embarked on a journey, yet the teacher remains skeptical. The coach corners Jimmy and inquires about Yuki's whereabouts. He is certain that no athlete vanishes abruptly just before a crucial match. Jimmy stays silent. The tension escalates, and she ultimately places her hand upon her heart and requests the teacher to have faith in her. Inside her pocket, Yuki is silently observing her with admiration. He nearly tumbles out but successfully slides back inside just in time. As the teacher approaches due to the growing suspicion, Anubhuti expresses her regret to Jimmy for compelling her to be dishonest. Jimmy becomes absorbed in the coach's inquiries and offhandedly remarks that in Asia, it is apparent the teacher harbors an affection for Yogi. Initially, he refutes it, but then he remembers the looks and fleeting instances in class and comes to the realization that it could indeed be accurate. Abruptly, a male instructor hurls a basketball, and Jimmy narrowly evades it at the final moment. Within the pocket, Yuki sneezes, leading the teacher to believe Jimmy was mocking him, which makes him even more furious. Jimmy solemnly assures that it was merely the sound of her shoes and earnestly implores Yuki to remain silent. If anyone discovers his presence, both of them might face expulsion, yet Yuki remains largely indifferent and attempts to escape from the pocket. Jimmy gently taps his head with her finger. During the class, Yogi unexpectedly exclaims that he's feeling bored. She instructs him to remain silent, but Yuki retorts that his stomach is yearning for both sustenance and affection. Jimmy advises him that he must endure it. Everyone looks at Jimmy again, and she finally blames the boy sitting next to her. She reaches into her pocket. She attempts to reprimand Yogi, but he unexpectedly bites her finger, and her closest friend observes that Jimmy is behaving unusually. Subsequently, they proceed to a secluded spot to enjoy a snack. In that moment, Jimmy retrieves a note brimming with love, penned by her mother, and suddenly her friend appears. Yuki conceals himself behind her, quivering with apprehension that she might catch sight of him. Once they are alone once more, Yogi becomes aware that his scent is rather potent, and he is running short on smaller garments. To address this, Jimmy decides to join a crafting club. She joins a crafting club where miniatures and sewing are taught, and there she meets Kosk, a smart student who has admired Jimmy since childhood. He leans very close to Jimmy's face. Suddenly, Elsie bursts.
He feigns a fall, but the instant Jimmy brings up Suka's name, he leaps up in a fit of anger, and Jimmy instantly realizes that he is evidently envious, indicating that his heart is gradually drawing nearer to hers. Their souls are uniting more with each passing day. They begin to connect on a more profound level as he requests her presence at the basketball game where he was originally meant to play. Regrettably, his team suffers a loss, and he feels responsible for letting his teammates down. Nevertheless, they spend the entire day together, and she makes an effort to lift his spirits. They go on a couple's attraction ride at the amusement park, sitting in the very same seat they occupied previously. The ride spins at such a rapid pace that Yuki starts feeling dizzy inside his pocket. Then they notice some girls holding miniature cardboard cutouts of their favorite idols. Jimmy formulates an exceptionally ingenious plan. She will act as though Yuki is simply a cardboard cutout, which will enable them to enjoy a date together without attracting excessive attention. A group of girls approaches and comments that Jimmy's doll is incredibly adorable because he quickly transforms into a statue. Jimmy dismisses them with some terse words, and the girls depart, labeling her as crazy. Once the threat has disappeared, Yuki reassures her that among all the girls present, she is truly the most beautiful one. Jimmy blushes profoundly and imagines Yuki reverting to his original towering stature, and these emotions embed themselves even more deeply into her heart. They share yet another kiss to explore the depth of their affection, and Yuki feels as though those fleeting kisses don't truly count because he contends. But then he requests yet another favor. He wishes for Jimmy to communicate to his basketball team that he is sincerely sorry for not being present with them, but he is sending them encouragement from afar. This restores the team's confidence. And Jimmy is also extremely delighted. Upon arriving home, she realizes that her room is now quite cramped for both of them. She moves to the corner and begins to remove her clothing, while Yuki secretly observes her with an intense gaze. Her body feels like the comforting warmth of the sun to Yuki. Meanwhile, Yuki's father heads to the family bar and orders a beer. The owners provide him with food because they understand his deep sadness about his missing son. They converse about how Jimmy and Yuki used to be exceptionally good friends, and Jimmy's mother mentions she always sensed that Jimmy had feelings for Yuki, and she blushes. And the mother humorously suggests that the two should eventually get married someday. Jimmy feels embarrassed and requests her to stop, while Yuki secretly desires to exclaim that he has feelings for Jimmy as well. Yogi's father advises Jimmy to take good care of his son, and that's when Jimmy uncovers the genuine reason behind the tense relationship between the father and son. At a certain moment in time, he had permitted experimental medical treatments on Yogi's ailing mother, and Yuki could never bring himself to forgive him for that decision. As he recalls memories of his mother, Yuki begins to weep, and Jimmy tenderly consoles him. She remains in her room for such an extended period that her mother becomes concerned. Upon entering the room, she makes a resolution. Meanwhile, Yuki and Jimmy bathe together. Jimmy fills her spacious bathtub with water and incorporates mineral salts to render the water opaque. Yogi immerses himself in a compact bathtub and endeavors to surreptitiously catch a glimpse of Jimmy's physique, prompting Jimmy to once again label him as a pervert. As Jimmy approaches his tub, Yuki quickly shields himself and insists that she turn her gaze away. Meanwhile, his family discreetly observes them, convinced that Jimmy has completely lost her senses. At school, someone throws a ball that almost hits Yuki.
She nearly crushes him, but Jimmy manages to save him at the very last moment. She becomes overwhelmed with anger because harming her beloved is a significant offense in her heart. Yuki also begins to annoy her. Whenever Jimmy converses with any guy, particularly Kosuke, Yuki eventually gathers the courage to formally ask Jimmy out on a date. They visit a cafe where couples share a drink using one straw, and Yuki feels disheartened because he is unable to do such a simple thing due to his diminutive size. Then Jimmy gently brings her hand close to her chest and carefully places Yuki on it. She places him on her palm. They touch each other with immense joy, proving that their love is greater than size. Jimmy's friend finds it strange that she is so happy, even though Yuki is missing. Jimmy doesn't reveal the secret. As they leave, one of Yuki's friends mentions how much they miss Yuki. Yuki moves inside the pocket, and the friend thinks Jimmy's heart is beating fast because she's in love. Jimmy immediately says that her heart belongs only to Yuki. Then they go to the same place, and Jimmy worries she might become a terrible girlfriend. Jimmy starts crying, but Yuki reassures her that would undoubtedly be the most remarkable girlfriend in the entire universe. Jimmy admits that she has never felt any affection for any boy before and requests Yuki to treat her with the utmost care. Yuki promises her that he will always do so. Suddenly, a thief on a bicycle snatches her bag, which also contains Yuki. Jimmy chases after him yelling, but the thief quickly gets away. The thief opens the bag a little farther away, takes out some money, and tosses the bag aside like garbage. A confused Yuki emerges and meets another tiny woman named Nami. She inquires if there are additional miniature individuals residing in the forest, but Nami responds negatively and summons her spouse. Her husband places Yuki in his pocket, but due to his lack of attention, he keeps colliding with objects, causing Yuki to sustain injuries, with merely a week remaining. Overwhelmed with fear and profound sadness, Yuki departs. Eventually, Chimney discovers him once more, and observing his sparkling little eyes brings her immense relief. She presses him gently against her heart and expresses that if he were to vanish, she would feel as though she had died as well. At that precise moment, they notice that the autumn festival is taking place in the city. A moment in time when three individuals of the same age group come together and solidify their future. They are all of the same age, and despite Yuki being diminutive, both decide to proceed together. Chimmy presents him with a miniature outfit for the festival. Koso, upon seeing her, remarks that she looks stunning in anything she wears. Someone inquires if she has a boyfriend. She responds that the face she holds in her heart belongs to someone else. She retreats to her chamber to be with Yuki, but at that precise moment, her father enters and observes Yuki in his miniature form. He believes he is experiencing a dream and remains bewildered throughout the entire day. Later that night, Chimi and Yuki share time together. Yuki expresses that being in her company is consistently enjoyable, and Chimi embraces him closely to provide him comfort. Yuki feels remorseful that he is unable to embrace her in the manner he desires, and that is his most profound wish. Chimi envisions him growing larger and enveloping her in his arms. The father starts secretly watching them because of his suspicion. Suddenly, Yogi feels a strong urge to kiss Chimi, but they're in public. Chimi just takes her bag inside. And there, hidden from everyone's eyes, they share a deep personal kiss, which makes Yu completely soaked in his saliva. At the festival, he sees Nami's husband. He is broken and tells him that Nami has died. At that moment, Yuki realizes that Nami was right, and he truly only has 1 week left. He keeps this secret because he wants Chimi to always keep smiling. Under the vast expanse of stars that night, Chimi persistently insists, as she usually does, that if the situation arises, they will adopt children, and if he dares to utter such nonsense again, she will kill him. Eventually, Yuki discloses the truth that in a mere week, he will vanish from this world. She doesn't comprehend at first, so Yuki elaborates that he became smaller so he could spend his final days with her, which was his most profound wish. But now that time is nearly over. Jimmy is devastated by this overwhelming pain and can't stop crying intermittently. The following morning, Yuki tells her to. They make the decision to spend their remaining days as joyfully as they did in the past. He mentions that it would be unwise to squander the limited time they have left in sorrow and disputes. Since her most cherished thing is her smile, they return to the site of the accident. Jimmy wishes she could also become smaller so they could always remain together. In her despair, she steps onto the road, hoping a car will hit her so she can die and share her fate with Yuki, believing that regardless of the circumstances, she can love them. Her father becomes extremely emotional and requests to see him one final time. He requests to see his son because his heartfelt wish has been fulfilled, and now he can emerge from hiding. At first, the father suspects it might be an illusion or some kind of trickery, but when he physically touches Yuki with his own hands, he comes to the realization that Yuki is indeed real. They express all their long-suppressed emotions, set aside their past conflicts, and convey their gratitude to each other. The father expresses his gratitude for having him as his son, and Yuki reciprocates by expressing his thankfulness for having him as his father and also for enrolling him in the school where he met Jimmy. She steps outside to provide them with a bit of privacy, and when the father gently places a beer glass on the table, it creates a slight jolt, causing Yu to tumble into the cup. He climbs out and dries himself off with a napkin, and their bond becomes even more robust. They continue to cherish these precious moments. They prepare small snacks for him, and the grandmother comments on how utterly adorable he is. In that joyful moment, a part of Yuki's body begins to vanish. It's a clear indication that he has very limited time remaining. Everyone is filled with apprehension. To lighten the atmosphere, Yuki discloses that his most treasured aspect of Chimi's physical appearance is her hairline because whenever he embraced her, that was what he observed closely. He further adds that embracing her is his most cherished activity in the entire world. From that point onward, Chimi officially becomes another cherished member of their family. Her brother comments that he overheard them kissing in the room, and Chimi blushes and denies it. Their mother remarks that there's nothing to feel embarrassed about when it comes to kissing, and also mentions that she kisses her husband all the time, which almost makes the father die of embarrassment. Then she says that the most important thing is that Yuki and Jimmy is an exceptional partner and is assured that they will surmount every challenge associated with Yuki's diminutive size. Several days later, Yuki ultimately discloses the truth about his dreadful fate to them. Yuki's father frantically searches for a remedy and discovers a doctor who is willing to examine him. When the doctor inspects Yuki, he is unsurprised by his condition, trembling with fear, and Yuki's father grasps his hand and expresses that he has already lost his beloved wife. He cannot endure the thought of losing his son. When the report arrives, the news is Yuki's body is nearly hollow within, with just a single organ remaining. His heart, which beats at a slow pace, is tethered to this world by the profound love of his family, and, most significantly, the love of Chimi. This immense responsibility weighs heavily on Chimi, and her mother provides support to help her manage. Yuki resolves to reveal the truth to his classmates as well. He confesses that he did not actually go on a trip, and everyone is delighted to see him return. Despite being in his miniature form, he confidently asserts that even in his absence, they possess the potential to become the most outstanding basketball team in the entire nation. The coach offers an apology to Chimi for his previous mistreatment and expresses gratitude for her dedication in caring for Yuki. She acknowledges that she has come to understand that Yuki's genuine love is indeed Chimi. With his secret now revealed, there remains only one task: to fully embrace and realize their love. They plan an enchanting romantic evening in the hotel suite they have dreamed of visiting since their childhood days. On the bed, They gaze at one another. As individuals often do when they behold something precious, they undress, and for a brief, miraculous moment, Yuki reverts to his original form, and they share a profound emotional yet non-sexual moment together. Following this, they return to their cherished bench. It is the very spot where Yuki first recognized his love for her, and where, for the first time, Jimmy openly confesses to him that she loves him. Yuki responds by declaring that he loves her with all his strength and that she is the girl Nisha will undoubtedly remember. With his final breaths, he fervently declares that he loves her. He loves her 1,000,000 times more than words can express. After this heartfelt confession, he senses that his purpose in this world has been fulfilled, and he vanishes. Jimmy feels as though her heart has been shattered into countless pieces. She informs her family that Yuki is no longer with them. She weeps for many days, but gradually she starts to comprehend the deeper significance. Whenever she experiences sadness or endures a difficult day, she feels that Yuki is watching over her from the heavens above. Although they were unable to establish the family they had envisioned, Yu is reborn within her cherished memories, transforming into her guardian angel. He watches over her from above, constantly reminding her that Jimmy was eternally his most profound love. In her imagination, Jimmy envisions an entire life with him and vows to forever preserve his smile in the deepest, most intimate corner of her soul. It is the place where only the truest love resides.